update on 2021 MDC budget workshop.
Yes, this morning, the MDC had their first budget workshop with the towns about their 2021 budget. And actually, it was a very high-level meeting, primarily dominated by the MDC talking about the operations and things that they accomplished during the year, and the problems they're having with DEEP and the problems they're having with other companies and so on. So there wasn't much discussion really into the details or anything close to that on next year's budget proposals. Only a couple of things that came out is that, of course, their water revenue's down because of usage. It's down. And they have, I think, 46 retirees coming up, and they're going to let 22 of those positions goes unfilled. And the other thing, if you saw the Current this morning about the settlement over the lawsuit by the non-member towns on some fees that were charged by the MDC over the years, and it totaled up to about $8 million of payments. They did issue some bonds, and they sold them, and they did receive a premium of, I think, about $23 million. And out of that premium, they're using those funds to cover that legal, the payout expense, which is more 75% credits on users' bills, and the other 25% would be cash sent directly to former customers. But also there's quite a bit of money going to the attorneys as well. And other than that, they're gonna start presenting their formal budget to their Board of Finance, I think on October 5th. And then sometime after that presentation, they're gonna have meetings with the town. I don't know whether we have 2 or 3, or whether this one includes our first one. So we may have 2 more meetings on that, but that's the extent of it. It was very high level MDC update on their operations.
Okay. Chris, questions?
Oh, I don't want to beat John up for being the messenger for the MDC. So even though with everybody at home, their water usage is still down. So that's more, is that because like the office buildings are closed and such? Because that's their thing?
I don't know what's causing it, just usage being down, whether people are more conservative. I would think it might have gone up because of the dry summer. They would use the water to water their grass. But that's probably a good option that the people, well, maybe there's a trade-off that the building water bills are lower, but the household water bills where the people are working from are higher.
Yeah, I mean, Eversource told the exact opposite thing, right? Where they were saying everybody's home, so the energy use is going up. I mean,
it could be also optimistic sales projections for the budget year, and they're not coming in at what they expect it to be. But again, they're just looking at maybe 7 months of information. So hopefully by October, they'd be having closer to nine months of information.
and it seems like even you know, there's concerns on the water side, but the big item is really on the expense they have with their sewer project.
Yeah.
Did they give any update on that?
They're still waiting for some sort of response from DEEP on which way they're going to go about whether they're going to build another tunnel in the north end or use that money for fixing up the infrastructure. The other thing they mentioned that I forgot is, remember they were having that dispute with DEEP relating to the Hartford landfill on the water runoff. And there was always a large receivable that were being threatened that if DEEP doesn't pay, the towns would have to come in. Apparently the Attorney General got involved in the process. So they drafted the structure agreement so far, but they haven't put the numbers in. So there's a good chance that the MDC will be getting something back from their fees associated with that landfill. The only caveat is whatever the settlement is, if it's greater than $2 million, the state legislature has to approve the payment.
Mhm.
So they may not get the full 13, but it's closer to that than nothing, I would say.
All right. Well, we'll wait to hear what they have to tell us in October, I guess.
And John, just to kind of piggyback on that, getting the funds from the landfill, I believe MDC and possibly Ray Sweezy had commented that may offset a large portion of this current year's budget increase. Couple that with bond premiums, is there a possibility we could see close to a flat number coming out of MDC, or am I being way too
I
optimistic?
don't know about the water side, but maybe on the sewer side, yes. And that rate that was charged to the on your water bill, I think it's for the water project that was like $4.10 this year. They say that could remain flat for the next 2 years.
I guess the best thing we could say is we hope it's as optimistic as we could be, because last year their increase was very sizable to start.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess we'll move forward to agenda item 3, discussion and possible action, First Amendment to Verizon ground lease.
Yeah, this was the ground lease at the fire station on New Britain Avenue cell tower, in which Verizon is renting some space on the ground. I think it's associated with a generator with the equipment they have up on the tower. It was a 20-year lease signed in 2001, and they wanted to renew it. We had a discussion a couple times here at the Finance Committee, and it's an extension of 25 years instead of 20 years, and the 5-year increments would be 10% instead of 15%. So I think it would come out for 25 years over $800,000 towards the town. Forwarded to the town attorney, and she was okay with it. There was like one sentence she wants to put into it, but other than that, she's okay with that. So I know Verizon is more or less trying to line up these leases, renew them early, so that in case there is a problem or a town doesn't want to continue with it, they can figure out how to relocate it to another location. So all this is a resolution for the town council, if they want to continue with this, approval for the town manager to sign the amendment to add another 25 years onto the original lease agreement with Verizon.
Okay, and the concept would be we'd move this to consent agenda for Monday evening.
Yeah.
Okay. Chris, any questions on it?
Just in terms of, termination, if at some point it seems like we can get a better deal, we can get out after one of the 5-year terms. Is that how it works? Haven't gotten that part yet.
I think there is in their termination by either party by giving the appropriate days of notification and so on. So it's a two-way street. They could also terminate the agreement as well as the town. I don't know if we're going to get a better deal because you have to be up on that tower.
Yeah.
And the cell phone industry is shrinking now that T-Mobile and Sprint merged.
But we're also trying to project out what 25 years of technology changes. So who knows? But yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, if we have the lawyers reviewed it and we have protection for the town, should situations change, then I don't have any more questions.
Okay, would you like to make a motion to move it to the consent agenda?
Sure, I will make a motion to move item 3.
Yeah.
The First Amendment to the Verizon ground lease with Town of Rocky Hill, located at 52 New Britain Ave, to the consent agenda for the meeting on Monday, September 21st.
Okay, I will second that. Um, Any further discussion or, no, all those in favor then?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item 4, update FEMA-related expenditures and reimbursements.
Okay, we have 2 pages in here related to this. First one gave another slice of looking at our 2 FEMA issues going on. What we have is an update on COVID-19. Submitted the June 30th, 20 invoices into FEMA. And I wanted to give you an update of where it stands. It's gone through its pretty thorough review at their level. We had a couple of items that were adjusted. As you see, we had originally submitted in the full invoice for the Zoom and streaming meetings, and they've asked us to prorate that. So we'd have 1 quarter through 6/30, and then we'll resubmit that for the future quarters as they allow. Also had submitted some laptops and software for the ambulance for their chief and their assistant chief. They did not accept those. They felt that they weren't justified in it being a 100% usage for COVID related, and it might be regular business as usual. So we had to remove those items from our request. There was also a duplicate invoice that we had to remove as well. So at this point, we have submitted for the COVID 76,236. I believe it's on its final review, have had no questions in a few weeks now. And we should be getting 75% of that adjusted figure. And at that point, the remainder 25% should be through OPM. And at this point, I'm submitting that, which is a September 30th deadline, in the OPM's format, which is slightly different. So that's the status on what's happening with COVID. And we'll start again with the new quarter.
Okay.
We also had did you have a question on COVID before I go forward with the storm? No?
The only question I have is how long we're keeping and I apologize, you just mentioned it with the different dates, how long it's staying open. Is it something that will get reauthorized as long as the state of emergency persists? Or?
Right. At this point, they are allowing it to stay open through December 31st. But at this point, they've informed us that we will not be able to submit any of the PPE invoices after September 15th. So the things that we are submitting are more strict emergency related, probably the update of buildings, the sneeze guards and that type of protective equipment, but the mask and gloves won't be on the reimbursable at that point. That's from the federal level. I haven't heard from the state, so we'll continue to submit that and see what they do.
Thanks.
Mona, just one question in there.
Sure.
I see that you're revisiting the laptops with OPM at 25%.
That's
So
correct.
I'm making the assumption that that's probably an allowable expense under the OPM rules.
Prior to submitting to FEMA, I had a discussion with our representative from OPM, and he had recommended that we try submitting those laptops through FEMA. So I think since it was recommended at state level to submit it, I will submit it to them and see if they want to make at least an attempt at doing the 25% on their side.
Okay.
I don't give up.
No, that's great. And now we got the storm side.
We did. We had the storm. At this point, there was a very detailed report requested. We had anything from the street and the GPS location and invoice submitted and so forth. And at this point, we had, you can see, almost $65,000 in invoices for tree removal alone. That's contracted services, not our own in-house staff. It's overtime. So we had to put an estimate on that because, in fact, they're still doing some overtime in trying to do some of the pickup around town, the brush pickup. We have an estimate of 67,000 for chipping services. At this point, we haven't contracted a vendor. As you can imagine, throughout the state, they are not the easiest vendors to get a hold of. But we do have the all of the material in our location, and we've got some great photos for FEMA when they do have our interview. We'll be scheduled for an interview and be able to share what we've collected and in our estimates as well. So at this point, we're estimating 170,000, and we're pending an interview with them.
And Mona, that 170,000 is that basically 100% reimbursement rate for what we expended that meets the requirements?
It should be, yes. Yes, everything is a should be. So it's going to be at the first pass. So again, we're going to have the interview with that, and I think it will depend on a lot of the issues of, was it, damage to the streets? Was it, a hazard? So a lot of this, was it, something that had fallen into the yard, or was it fallen into the street? So they're really looking at what was a threat, what was creating damage to, to the town property, what was creating a hazard to the town people, the inability to pass through the streets. So it's not only the cost, but as well as the situation. So we had a lot of photos that were submitted as well of the sites. So it's going to be a few reviews that's going through that. So it's the photo, the situation, as well as the cost. So ideally, as long as they go through, it should be 100%.
Okay.
And is that limited to specifically to the tree work and the overtime? Because I know we lost some fences and some other damage there. Does that fall into it, or is that on us to fix?
Basically, it is just the tree, and it's the overtime. The fences are going through insurance. So anything that could be going through your property insurance, they don't want to have it submitted. So it was very confined to the certain areas that could be covered. So they had a limited area.
And whatever, I'm not sure what our deductible is, but that wouldn't be reimbursable.
Actually, yes, what they have done is they treated from our insurance carrier it as one insurance claim. So like all fences, whether it was at the school or the park, we submitted it all as one massive claim. So it was the deductible from that, and then all claims went through. So we had the $1,000 deductible, and then anything above that.
I was asking if the deductible was reimbursable by FEMA, but if the deductible is $1,000, that's not too bad.
Oh, that's on ours. No, it wasn't bad. No.
Helps to ask.
It does.
All right. Anything else on this, Chris? Nope. Okay. Then we'll move forward to state aid to municipalities 2021 budget.
Nope. Okay. I know I shouldn't jump back, but there was a page about the cash flow status. So if you had any questions on that, I don't mind jumping forward to state aid.
I did not, but
okay.
Chris, I don't know if you
just general trend. I know we had spoken about feeling pretty good through October. When we first did the 90-day I guess push out of the when the tax bills were due. We still feel pretty good. We feel we're in a pretty good position.
Yes.
Or is there? Okay.
Yes, that's basically what that one page was trying to summarize. So the really high level view is that, looking that we should be in a good place. So we've got, over $40 million available between the notes, the $11 million notes that we had done earlier this year for capital projects, and just trying to project out, the spending pattern that we'll have between projects and just regular operations. It looks like we should be in a good place.
and
And
I
that's
did
the end of December.
I did look ahead to your tax collector's monthly report as well. And we're, I know 8% is a good dollar number, only off 8% on
Right.
the 3-year average with an abatement. That's not terrible.
No, it's not.
So,
Not terrible.
good to see. And I'm sure we'll discuss that further and under the finance report.
Right. So yes, as we mentioned, state grants, we had one come in, and that was the 50% of the town aid road, the 173,000, and that is on time and as planned.
Perfect. I don't think there's a lot to discuss further on
Oh,
that.
really? Okay, thanks.
So
So we'll
go ahead to the monthly financial report.
yes. So as you had mentioned, the tax revenue is behind schedule, but as we know, that was due to the deferral. I'd say at this point, we're expecting the collections to come forward for October 1st. Some of our large taxpayers are still outstanding. But again, we allowed that, and we'll continue to monitor that. Prior year collections are actually still coming in, which is a good sign as well. Let's say at this point, the delinquent bills will be coming out before October or around the end of October, and give a notice to these people. So they will come out with the delinquents and have interest at that point. So those that have taken advantage of the deferral program will be getting delinquent notices if they are unpaid.
And when those notices go out, is that a warning notice, or is that before the interest kicks in?
That's with the interest.
That is with the interest.
Yes.
And Mona, maybe it's on here, I'm just not seeing it. Normally you discuss a breakdown between real estate taxes and motor vehicle. Is motor vehicle still, I remember last month, motor vehicle was kind of behind.
Actually, it was seeming that the personal property was pretty much in place and motor vehicle was behind. It still continues to be. And it looks like the real estate number that we had, which was a couple $1 million that was running behind, still tends to be behind, and a lot of them being the larger taxpayers, more on the commercial side. We still have residential clearly, but we've got some large real estate as well. But you are right, there's still the motor vehicle, which might be something that we're going to have to look at after the October 1st and see if there is an issue beyond that.
And I would, and this is a guess on my part, but a lot of the real estate taxes were escrowed, while the motor vehicle taxes, people know they have till October 1st, and we'll probably see the uptick, late September.
Right.
And that's a guess on my part.
That's our hope.
They could be sitting on coffee tables.
Absolutely.
People are like, oh yeah, I forgot to pay that. Yeah.
Yep. So I guess we're not at the point we have to worry about it. Yeah. We're aware of it, but we're not worrying yet.
I believe we have our electronic signs on the corners. From what I understand, the tax collector put that out as a reminder, which we usually do. So I think we have a reminder out to people that it's October 1st. So in case it's on the coffee table, we have a notice out. And it's from what I understand, it's going out as a notice in the paper as well, which we customarily do, is saying that, that the due date is coming.
Okay, and I'll try to put a note here just to remind the mayor to mention that at the upcoming council meeting.
That would be great.
At October 1. Or
And
I
if-
could,
and if-
as part of the committee report.
Great.
If I recall, you can go online and check whether or not you've paid. So if you have any questions, for those of us who are working from home with a house full of kids who might not be sure if they paid or not, you can go online and check, see if you owe.
That's right. Yes, you can.
Sounds like somebody may be doing that in the next day or two.
I made a note. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I did it. Not a good look if I'm on the finance committee and I'm delinquent.
Right.
Making that an agenda item next month.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can just count it as a tip. Guys are doing great.
Mm,
All right.
Okay.
I guess the expense side is the
Yes,
next piece of that.
Right. On the expense, I probably just kind of highlight, you may see some things that look a little bit unusual as you go through, but we are transitioning. We're going through our financial audit. So I'm right now functioning with 2 fiscal years open. So you will at times find some negatives in encumbrance areas. And this is just part of the anomaly of operating 2 fiscal years at the same time. We did our financial audit. Actually, I think they had their last day today. It went well. Once they give the go ahead, we can close 1 year and then it rolls in. So you'll find things like purchase orders from the previous year need to roll in. And so they'll be just things that look a little odd, but that's part of the accounting system in running 2 years. But for the most part, this gives you a pretty good snapshot of where we are through August. Nothing that's really material that will look off.
Yeah.
But that being said, I believe things are in place. I may want to highlight, I'm going to go all the way down to employee benefits. That looks very low. We had our health insurance switch to billing system, so there's a delay there. We did make payment on that in September, actually probably just last week. So you'll see a negative number in there. If you look on the detail page, we had co-pays received, but the premium hadn't been paid. So it stands out and it looks a little off. Other than that, nothing too alarming to watch out for.
The only one I kind of took a quick look at, recreation aquatic. And
Yes.
year to date, we're fine, but we were at 28%. And I don't know if that's just a timing issue. It looks like mostly part-time salary.
Oh,
which-
yes.
Which I'm assuming is just the timing the pool closed, and that'll level off now for the rest of the year.
Exactly. It's all seasonal with them.
Yeah.
And that will be the pattern that you'll see. So they tend to have where you see some of them will have the other spike will be the low end. So this is their peak season. It'll peak up and then you'll see it taper off.
Okay, and then just because I'm asking about the pool, I'm assuming, and I shouldn't assume, like, is the pool open at the high school or is that still remain closed?
I don't know. John, do you know
I
what you're doing? with that?
don't know. I think it is remaining closed because it's sort of in a school building, and I think the school, well, I don't know whether it could reopen now that the kids are back in school, but I thought it was closed while the schools were closed and kids were studying from home.
Yeah,
Okay,
That's
But
what I thought. Yeah.
it was just more curiosity questions. I didn't know if that was still open. I know there used to be adults that would swim before school in the morning, and I guess we could always ask Craig that question,
Yeah.
if it's open. That's not a big financial issue. Chris, any questions there?
Missed my click. The sanitation, looks like we had a pretty big payment there. Just is that because the project is wrapping up, or is that like a quarterly payment?
Oh, those are quarterly. So what we do is that's on the sewage payment, and it's quarterly. So it will be large, and you'll see it. It's
and probably has an MDC payment too in it.
It is MDC, and that's a quarterly payment.
Okay. Any other ones, Chris?
Nope.
No, okay. Update on legal bills?
There's the schedule in there for the bills that were paid in July.
Okay. And nothing unusual in there, just normal course of action. We're on target.
Yeah, I think they're hopefully working on a settlement, maybe with the solar cases about whether they're taxable or not taxable.
Okay.
I believe the courts are opening up and they're meeting, and hopefully it'll be either settled in court over time, or maybe the legislators will pass some sort of bill to clarify whether they're taxable or not. We're reviewing now, depending on whether because we have collected taxes in the past, we're putting together our numbers to see what our exposure is, depending on if they want to propose a settlement on a percentage of the money going back to the people that paid the taxes, or a clean break saying whatever you collected, you keep. Going forward, it's non-taxable, but that's down the road a bit.
And when do you expect to have that potential risk number put together?
We should have it done probably early next week. If it's not ready already, I think Stuart has put something together. He might have sent me something, but I haven't opened up that sheet yet.
So could we include that in next month's agenda just to kind of give an update as a as a potential liability, not knowing how the final rulings will come out?
Yeah.
All right.
The only thing I would note on the on the legal bills is that it looks like, knock on wood, that we're actually starting the new fiscal year off pretty clean. I don't want to jinx us.
Well, remember that's always a month behind too, because so the August bills don't come to September.
That's right.
Like some of the longer ones, the mannequin issue, if we can wrap the solar issue, where some of them hopefully should be wrapping up soon, I would think.
Yeah, it looks like we're finally cleaning up some of the old issues.
Yeah.
All right. I know we have one item under other that I got a call right before the meeting. John, you want to bring that one in?
Sure. With the legislation that was passed relating to the police accountability bill, there is a requirement for the police to have body cams as well as car cams. And by, I don't know whether it's 21 or 22, July,
22.
I think it's July 22.
Yeah.
So the police started looking into it. And so there's an opportunity for the town to acquire, going off of another town's bid, body cams, car cams, and even some server and software equipment for approximately $175,000 to outfit the police department and the cars, police officers in the cars. There is a grant through OPM that's still open and has funding available that could offset the cost to the town of 50% as long as there's funding available. So we're running by the finance committee to see if they're interested in this transaction, in which the town would probably have to front through a PO as well as a check to purchase the equipment for, say, $175,000, submit it to OPM right away. And if we get in there and beat other towns and there's still a pot of money left, approximately what, $400,000,
500.
as of today, that we could get our $87,000 reimbursement from OPM to cover the costs of that equipment. Now, of course, the risk is that we are committing ourselves to purchase this equipment at $175,000. If for some reason somebody beats us to the punch and wipes out that balance, we would probably lose out on the 50% reimbursement. But I believe we're in good shape to do it, because it sounds like there's nobody else in the pipeline beside two towns that they already paid out on. So we're proposing to do this as a way of saving $80,000 on an expenditure that the town will have to make over the next year or two to abide by that clause in the police accountability bill. Did I cover everything, Mona? I've been saying this a lot tonight.
I know, you did good. I've trained him well. But yeah, you're right. There's about 500,000 remaining. And right now, talking to the state yesterday, there are only 2 other towns that are already in. And we are the only other one, as far as they know, that are having conversation. But as they said, it's first come, first serve. So if somebody else comes in ahead of us, then we would miss that opportunity. So we do have to move quick in order to be there. And this is just the remaining piece of an existing grant that they were allowed to extend.
So the potential risk would be, I guess there's the two risks would be, that we don't get in, or we get squeezed out by other towns this round. And then, I guess if there was if we have 2 years to phase it in, then the other risk would be that there's another grant program in the future. That would be, but we don't have the sense of it.
The talk is there'll be another round of grant money, but the reimbursement rate's going to drop to 20%.
20%.
Correct, that's
Correct,
what Brian
20%.
told you? Or
Yes,
people at OPM tell you?
yes, that's at 20% the next round.
And then you mentioned we'd be kind of piggybacking on another town's bid. So this isn't something where through one of our group purchasing organizations, there's a municipal rate or something like or a state minimum. This is actually I guess for like a good deal that we'd be getting in on through working with another town. Is that correct?
Well, describe a good deal could be interpreted different ways, but
Sure.
we're piggybacking off of somebody that went through the bid process, that hopefully they got a good low bid on this equipment, so that we can save the time of going out and doing it ourselves and take advantage of the opportunity to get that grant at 50%. So I think it's more that it did go through the bid process, and we have to assume we got a fair price for this equipment.
So some other town did like an RFP, and we're basically, rather than doing our own exercise, we're leveraging the due diligence that they've done.
Exactly.
Yeah, Chris, what's allowed, and I deal with this at work regularly, when one town goes out to bid, or the state goes out to bid, other towns are allowed to piggyback on that bid as long as they're getting the same rate. And it saves a lot of administrative time from having to rewrite the same paperwork and go back
Sure.
out, assuming that the price is in line with what they're expecting. So it's usually basically you're allowing someone else to do the work, and you're accepting that what they did is accurate, and it saves us some time and some manpower.
We could send them a fruit basket or something.
Yeah. The Mona, maybe you or John, just explain what's I know we talked about the body cams, the car cams, but of course we need the servers to go with it. And
Right.
so I think when we talked earlier,
Yes.
give you the heads up, it's a whole package. So this is everything we need to be
Right.
up and running.
Yes, this I've been working with Lieutenant Klett on this, and he's been working with the vendor. So yes, it includes the server as well as all the software that they need. So as far as they'll have the camera, the dash cam, the body cam, and then any of the software so they can do any, the gathering the videos and be able to view it. So it's the entire package. So rather than just getting the equipment, they're going to have the full operational system and its own server, so it can operate on its own rather than having to be on the cloud, which was what we looked at was kind of a more expensive maintenance type situation down the road. So having our own server in-house, and this particular grant, if you're the first time buyer on dashboard cams as well as body cams, that they included a server for a first time. So that's kind of another good thing about having this particular opportunity is this round, this first grant, if we can get in on this, would allow the server as well, which was close to between $12,000 to $14,000 with the maintenance costs.
Okay. And is there outside of the purchase of the equipment and the software, is there a monthly recurring cost or a maintenance fee that's separate?
I understand there should be maintenance fees in the future, but I'm hearing maybe like around $5,000 for maintenance, and I'm not sure if that's just hardware or software, but it was definitely less than the cloud system.
Okay. And I guess the only other question that when a body, I'll use body cam, it could be a car cam, fails, is damaged, dropped, whatever happens, is there a warranty period or replacement cost? How does that work?
There's a warranty included, and I'd have to go back and look at it and just to tell you what the time frame is, to be honest with you.
Okay. But if something's damaged, we're able to buy an additional camera to replace, or we'd have an X amount available?
Right.
Okay.
Well, they're actually buying the correction. So there's warranty, but there's a, what do we have?
They
Yeah,
do have a 12-month warranty.
thank you, John. 12-month warranty, and they're purchasing 20 packages, 20 bundles. So that's going to take care of patrol. So there won't necessarily be spares. If we decide down the road that we want to go full force and give this to, lieutenants and sergeants, that would probably be another round that we probably should do, and perhaps go to the next grant that comes available. But this will at least be able to equip the 20 patrols, which is, an essential up front.
Okay. And you said you're working with Lieutenant Collette in the police department.
Correct. Yeah.
And they're on board with the system that you're
Yes.
looking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Clint and Lieutenant Phelps,
Okay.
as far as the radio.
And so we're talking about, basically starting up a new equipment program, similar to, I guess, how we would handle other IT devices. Does that mean we need to think about how we replace these? I'm not sure if they last 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, but at some point we'll have to look at, I guess, is the thought that we would just kind of go out and bid for a whole new bunch so they all stay on the same version, or are we going to kind of replace them as they go? So there's like a little bit put us out every year, so we don't have, that large, recurring or a large one-time expense. Are we going to treat it like a senior bus where we put some money in the fund every year and then use it when we need it? What are the thoughts on how we're going to manage that moving forward?
Well, I would imagine that they're definitely going to have to build that into their budget, and they've had to discuss that already on what their plans will be. So next year's budgeting is going to include some other, costs in order to keep going with this. It's not a purchase and just let it go and hope it survives forever.
Yeah.
Right. It's definitely going to be an increased item.
And what line item are we taking this from the existing budget?
So
We would request it to come out of the non-reoccurring fund and use that $200,000 that was budgeted for last year as revenue to help balance the budget off. And due to last year's outcome, we didn't need to use that money. So the 200,000 is sitting in the non-reoccurring account right now. And we were just asked to reallocate $175,000 of that towards the police body and car cam project.
Okay. And we would then,
And then any money that would come back through the grant would be replenished into that non-reoccurring. So that would be a net $80,000 out of the non-reoccurring account.
okay. So Chris and I would be moving this to the council agenda, not the consent agenda. And that's all we'd be doing is allocating a line item, moving of money from one account to another.
Yeah.
Authorizing that. Okay.
And just, does it have to go through, or I guess doesn't have to, will it be discussed at public safety as well? Do they need to provide their feedback, or because Mona, you're already working the police, that's kind of assumed? I don't know.
I think what we're trying to do is move this thing as quickly as possible so we can submit to OPM to get our money.
So that could be like,
There's a
Would that be
public
tomorrow
safety
or be
meeting.
Monday?
There's a public safety meeting on Monday.
Yeah.
We can mention what we're doing at the council level that night. And I would assume that they wouldn't have any problems with it because it's going to be a necessary expense unless something gets repealed in that police accountability bill.
And I can mention that to Ed, who chairs that committee, after we conclude tonight, assuming we move that forward.
Right.
So the sequencing would be, I mean, until the council fully votes to approve on this, like, so Tuesday morning, if that happens Monday, Tuesday morning would be the earliest we could do our submission for that grant.
Right,
Or,
right.
Okay, so since it's just
So-
Chris, if you'd like to make a motion to,
yeah, I'll give it a shot. I'll make a motion to move the appropriate funds out of the non-reoccurring fund in order to support the purchase of the 20 body cam, car cam, and server bundle for the police department.
I will second that.
And just for discussion, does that accurately describe what we were looking to do? Or do I need to also move it to new business or anything else?
Well, you authorized moving the money, reallocating funding in the non-reoccurring account, and then we should present the concept to the town council for formal approval to move forward with the plan.
Right. So do we have to also make a motion to add this to new business, or is it already under?
No, it would have to be added on to the agenda on Monday night. The
Okay.
agendas went out before, so because we had this finance committee meeting, we wanted to start here to announce the proposal and get appropriate authorization before we move forward. We didn't want to be a maverick and go out and buy them all, and then our grant falls through, and then all of a sudden you see all these policemen with their body cams and no one really knew about it. So
Yeah.
it's announcing it and the intention of how we want to.
Okay. So I'll amend my motion to also add this as an item under new business for Monday night's council agenda.
And I will accept or second the addition to the motion. Any further discussion on it? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries 2-0, and we'll move that to the agenda for Monday night. Any other items under other?
No.
No.
Sir.
Okay. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Go Celtics.